Right, how are we doing everybody? Welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we're talking about how to fix a bent arm. Obviously lead arm, this is just to confirm. So for right-handed golfers, your left arm. And we'll talk very much about in the backswing position, the bent nature of your arm, and then also coming in towards impact and the through swing and to when it would be acceptable for your arm to bend. First things first, obviously, if you are somebody who has a bent arm in the respect that you can't straighten it to start off with, then obviously you're going to have to learn to accept that your left arm is going to be bent. And if you're somebody, and I've met people that is having lessons and you can't straighten your arm and you're aware of it but you're still trying to work on it, then strange but true, this happens. So just make sure that you can physically adopt a straight arm to start off with. Okay, so the first thing to think about would be in the backswing position. So why would the lead arm bend? Well, one of the reasons would be maybe that you're just trying to do more than you're physically capable of in the backswing. So maybe you're trying to do things like elevate your arm more than you actually anatomically can do it, let alone trying to do it and stay in a golf posture, therefore it induces a bit of a bend in the arm. That's a possibility. Possibly also just due to the fact that you don't understand that by applying a force to keep the arm straight is something which is beneficial. You know, instead of just thinking, oh, I've got to keep my arm straight for the sake of it, actually feel like you're trying to push it away from you. And then what this will do is this will help you actually make it feel more like a power move as opposed to just kind of trying desperately to keep it straight. So, you know, do some stuff at home where you're literally trying to push your arm up in the air, almost, if you like a punching motion. And therefore that is a force that is applied to the club, which is actually very beneficial. Now, with our world long drive champions, because of the amount of rotation that's going on, then yes, we often see a bend in the arm, but you've also got to remember that they re-straighten it on the way down, which most amateur golfers, I'm talking high 90% of golfers, don't do. So there's no point having a bend in the arm, because then you're going to affect your width in terms of the golf swing, but it's also going to affect your ability to down cock the club, which is the most powerful thing that you can do in the golf swing. So reference the backswing, why would your arm bend? Well, it's because you're not literally, either you're trying to do too much in terms of your rotation, like I said, in terms of what you're physically capable of, but also you've got to push this arm away. Now, I did a video the other day on the position of your arm. So what we see certain professional golfers do is they reduce the amount of rotation on the lead arm. So you can see my watch face stays very downward facing. But again, this is anatomically harder to swing my arm up with leverage than if I allow it to rotate. So sometimes golfers are unknowingly maybe reducing the rotation of the arm because it feels easier, but then you physically can't get it up there, so hence the reason why it bends. So generally speaking, it would be one of those outcomes that would be causing you to bend the arm. The only other one that could possibly do it maybe would be grip, right? If you grip it too much in the palm, but the problem is that you would see if it was bent to start off with if that was the case. You know, if you've got it in the fingers, it will create a much straighter arm. Question then is, what would cause it to straighten coming in towards impact? Well, a lack of rotation would be the answer. And it's not so much like you've got to clear your hips out the way, you know, rotation, like get them out of the way so your lead arm can go through. It'd be purely angulation. So for example, from a side-on perspective, if my arm is bent, I would look like so. And then my pelvis would also look encroaching in terms of the space. So I'd look a little bit tucked under and a little bit hip extendy, right? And again, unless you're compensating by pulling the shoulder back, shall we say, like a world long drive champion, then your arm's going to look obviously inevitably bent. From the face-on perspective, very much the same. Shaft angle might look vertical, arm looks bent, and then you look a little bit stuck and something like this. Well, that quickly changes once I change the position of my hip. So I now go much more downward facing with my belt buckle, and you can see the way that it turns a very bent arm into a very straight, more athletic position. It's exactly the same from the side-on perspective as well. Here, bent arm, this way, straight arm, much better. Going to give you a much better chance of then, if you can get it into that sort of positioning towards impact, but then inevitably as I swing through, if I can get it here, then I'm creating space. You can see the way that my leg is facing more towards the target. My chest is facing more towards the target. So now there's space for me to keep my lead arm straight, as opposed to if everything's facing you guys, then my arm is inevitably going to have to bend. So those are the reasons, a lack of rotation. But like I'm just talking about in this video, it's not like I said earlier, it's not like just clear your hips. It's not like you can just swing up to the top and then clear your hips this way. You have to stay downward Otherwise, you're still going to have the same problems. So just be careful if you are working on things, and like people that have been for lessons have normally had lessons elsewhere as well. And they might be very aware as to what is the fault and how to rectify it. So again, a good example would be a bent left arm, hence the reason for this video, and they're aware that they don't rotate enough. But sometimes what you don't realise is that you're rotating perfectly fine, it's just that you're rotating on the wrong angulation. So you're rotating much more this way as opposed to downward. And that can change it entirely in terms of your ability to keep this left arm straight. So double check things like grip, double check that you can actually straighten your arm, because honestly I have met people where that has been the case. Also just double check, you know, which sort of rotation and what you are physically capable of. Treat it more like a force, and then start getting these hips downward facing so that you can keep it straight coming in towards impact and in towards the through swing. Hopefully you enjoy the video. I always appreciate a thumbs up and a like. Remember to press that subscribe button. I'll catch up with you guys again soon.